I think this is your pinned tweet right now. I read the founding documents of queer theory, aka a creepy steaming pile of garbage, to understand the agenda of those teaching the transgender ideology to our kids in school. This is what I found. Pedophilia.
Yeah.
Wow. So how does pedophilia relate to...
It's like a bombastic tweet, right?
Yeah, that's pretty like... But you've got like a 10-minute video here.
It's got all the keywords in there.
Yeah, this is... So when the Florida thing was happening, and then the left and the mainstream media was talking about, was using that narrative, the don't say gay, right? I thought, well, this is interesting. Like, where did this come from, right? Where did this phrase come from? Because it probably is not just a hashtag that organically originated on Twitter and then people picked it up. And I found that it actually originated from Planned Parenthood. That they have used this phrase for the last 5-6 years to describe bills like this in different states. Specifically,
the don't say gay phrase?
Yeah, the don't say gay phrase. Because as we've come to this point where Roe v. Wade might be overturned and their abortion business might be threatened, they've actually switched their business model or morphed their business model. They're now one of the biggest distributors of transgender hormone therapy to young people as young as 16. And so they actually... they're also the largest organization or the biggest educator of that radical sex ed that happens in public schools. So they are an active part of this pipeline. So I'm reading about this, and I think, okay, well, there's an equivalence between how the left is teaching these transgender things in school to how the left taught critical race theory, right? It wasn't like in colleges you could say, here's critical race theory and here's what it teaches, sort of this abstract academic theory. And that's not how it's being taught in elementary schools. They're telling you, oh, white kids are racist, black kids are oppressed. They're teaching the principles of critical race theory. And I thought this is the same thing that's happening with the transgender stuff. They're teaching that boys can be girls if they want, girls can be boys, that gender is a spectrum, it's not binary, it's not related to sex, but all of those things aren't just things in and of themselves. They're actually the principles of the same type of ideological underpinning. This time it's queer theory, another academic theory, if you will. You say that with a little bit of laughter. But I read the founding documents. I was like, okay, so what is queer theory then? I read all the founding documents of critical race theory too to understand what it was. That's why I got into that debate, we'll call it that, with Mark Lamont Hill, because I called him out for, who he was supporting, because I actually read this stuff. I read this and it took me a couple days to detox it from my mind, just so you guys know. It's pretty nasty stuff. But the founder, Gail Rubin is her name. She's a lesbian who actually started
I could tell from that name. Gail Rubin. Big lesbian name.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
She started a club for leather bondage lesbians.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, that the name sounds like leather bondage lesbians. Yeah.
But she wrote the thesis of queer theory, or this founding document called Thinking Sex. And she posits in this document that there's, no objective truth, that gender is a spectrum, it's not binary, but she defends child pornography. She says it's a civil right issue that, 20 years down the road, we as a society will feel bad for all of these men that we put in jail for consuming, the sexual torture materials depicting the sexual torture of toddlers and babies. She defends that. She defends the sexualization of children. She said that, sex is always political. And she defends pedophilia. She actually calls pedophiles men who love underage youth.
Jeez. So in her world, Jared could get his job back at Subway. He could be the face of those sandwiches again.
I would love to ask her that question.
You should.
I would love to ask her that question.
Yeah.
I wish that as her name is becoming more known attached to this, I wish that she'd surface and start defending it the way that Kimberly Crenshaw did with critical race theory. But yeah, I mean, that tweet sounds bombastic because it's oh, sure, pedophilia. But it's actually...
That's how I felt watching it. It's oh, is this really what it says? And then when you unpack and look at they really are defending this stuff.
That's why I put, you said, it's a 9-minute video. Yeah. I wasn't going to condense it into 1 minute because then people are just going to be oh, you're just trying to get clicks, you're just trying to get views. No, I want people to watch it because it's nasty, it's there, and that's the ideological underpinning of what kids are being taught.